Welcome back, and welcome back, David Ochoa. You're waiting in the finals for either Luis Scott Vargas or Eric Froelich. Luis is now up 2 matches to 1, which is the headline at this point. But we also get to see which decks these guys have confidence in now that they've seen what their opponents have brought to the table.
Yeah, it's going to
So,
be pretty interesting, especially since so Eric needs to win the next 2 matches. He's against the wall. Um, the problem is that he's going to be on the draw for match 5, so he's going to have to try and figure out which of his 3 decks he'll be most confident with in that from that starting point. And he's got the Storm deck, which is pretty good.
it's got to be Storm for match 4, right?
Yeah, I think so.
If I'm Eric, I'm on the play. That's the deck I won with. None of Luis's deck look particularly good against Storm. I mean, they're all blue, right? They all have game. It's going to be combo versus control, which is always an interesting matchup. But when I'm on the play in match 4, I'm pretty sure I play Storm if I'm Ifro right here.
Yeah, Storm's going to be pretty good. I'm not sure how quickly Turbo Taz is, how much slower it is, but I would suspect that Luis is probably going to be going with Mentor again.
So you think Mentor, yeah. If you're Luis, you probably do the same mental gymnastics we just did and put Ifro on. You can't put him on definitely Storm, but you can put him on Storm being the most likely. Maybe you think it's like, 60, 30, 30% chance of running Storm. Sorry, 60, 20, 20, 50, 25, 25, something like that.
Some non-zero percentage.
What do you run against Eric? You run Mentor?
Yeah, I think so. It depends on what the sideboards of the other 2 decks were. I didn't get a chance to take a look, but I suspect that Mentor is probably going to be the best bet.
That's just a rematch of our match 1 then, right? That's just A deck versus A deck?
Yep.
I don't know. Luis got kind of crushed that match, didn't he? I mean, it was 2-0. He couldn't even win with multiple Remoras. You think he just drew badly?
No. Yeah, I mean, he didn't see a Mentor in any of those games, right?
Fair.
And that's basically what the deck needs to draw, in addition to, all of its counter magic. Because it's like, just it's the consistency of one deck versus the other when you don't have a threat, as opposed to having a threat and then all of a sudden, look, all these counter spells are great because then I'm forcing you to do stuff, and that's where the deck wants to be.
Maybe.
But other options would be the Turbo Test deck or the Gush deck. I suspect that the Gush deck is not going to be played. There's not nearly enough repeals in it.
You don't think there's repeals in every one of these lists?
There may be a repeal on the sideboard here and there. I didn't get quite a good enough look when I was sort of lurking over on the Twitch chat.
All right, well, we've made our guesses. We're guessing Mentor versus Storm. Feel a little more confident in the Storm prediction, but let's head down to the match and see what these guys are actually going to play.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Delver against Voltcast, just the way we drew it up, David Ochoa.
Yep. You have to remember, though, that these are 2 of the trickier planeswalkers that have come to play this game, and so, also being 2 really great friends, they have to think about what they've played against each other thousands of games, or quite a lot, and they're both are tricky and can come up with different angles that they would put their each other on. So they would have different reasons for saying, well, if I do A, then that means that Eric's going to do B. In which case, I'll do C because that's good against B, and so on. The problem becomes when you overthink yourself. And here we are. We've got Volkhouse versus Delver. The good thing about Volkhouse, though, is it is actually a bit of a quick deck, and so proactive and can just kind of do its own thing, as opposed to another deck which would be just much more reactive and not really good against a random deck choice. So, Ballcast is going to be playing whatever. It has its own game plan. It's not really going to be too concerned with what Eric is doing if he ends up going with a different deck, which ended up being the case. So you've got the Delver matchup to play against. And the good
Definitely levels and next levels here.
Oh yeah, a lot of that. The interesting thing about that is that there, at least for game one, there aren't as many like good cards like Power Blast that Eric has, which is going to change after board, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So this is the game that Luis really wants to win, just because getting your Tezzeret Power Blast is not exactly the spot that you want to be in.
Wow, so he dropped the Divining Top, found Time Walk, which he can actually flip into his hand and cast. That is a ton of mana for Luis Vargas to have on the first turn. He's got a Demonic Tutor also, does not have black mana or anything to do with all this mana.
Yeah, so you can.
And he draws
can't really
the top.
capitalize on that extra time.
Well, I mean, we'll see. The Divining Top is now he gets to see another card deeper and hope he finds something.
Yeah, but one choice is to spin the top.
Or leave up Force of Will.
Just hold up 5 to cast Force of Will and then try and go nuts again next turn.
Yep.
Because he'll get a draw step plus potentially a blue card, so he can use Force of Will. Yeah, depending if he finds something that is good enough to try and protect.
Yeah, so huge mana advantage for Luis here, but doesn't have any action yet. Eric has got a bunch of little effects that all do something.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty good for Eric as far as the next sequence, because he's going to be able to go Time Walk Delver, then flip Jason, replay Time Walk.
Luis is not interested in any of that.
Oh, no.
Tap 5, Force of Will your Time Walk.
Well, you see, the thing is, when your deck is called Volcast, I mean, you're the one who really wants to take all the extra turns, and you can't really let your opponent really try any of that nonsense.
I didn't realize there was a prohibition against enemy extra turns. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's very flavorful. You have to defend against what your opponent is doing in terms of flavor also.
Fair enough. More mana.
That's a non-zero amount of mana, some people would say. If there were some sort of giant Leviathan-sized creature, Luis would be able to cast that without too much difficulty.
And 1 mana Thought Cast. Replay the top. Keep digging. Can he find something to do with all this mana?
He's going to be going fishing for some sort of big artifact creature like that, I suspect.
I mean, Economy only taps for 6.
Yeah, I mean, Tezzeret's a pretty good card to look for, and we'll see if that ends up being the card. And it actually very well may be. You're going to see.
Oh, the Opal's the black mana. Got it. Yeah, he goes for the Opal for the black mana. Now he gets a Demonic Tutor, and yeah, presumably this is Tezzeret.
Yeah.
You just get Tezzeret and then get the Vault and say go. If he puts Time Vault into play, he's basically saying check. He's saying, Eric, I got you next turn. Tezzeret can untap. Oh, Delver kills Tezzeret, doesn't it?
You have
Delver. There's a creature in play? Because Planeswalker's actually going to get attacked? That's not a thing that's supposed to happen in Vintage.
Yeah, you might just be going for something like Tinker or...
Hilarious. Yeah, Tezzeret doesn't get it done because the Delver actually attacks and kills it.
Yeah. So we're going to see a Tinker here for some sort of large, efficient
Oh, if he's got
creature.
a Blightsteel on this list, then this is great.
I suspect since it's the Gentleman's Game... Oh, okay. I was going to say that it would be equal Leviathan. Some sort of truly benthic monster as opposed to a giant robot.
All right, Giant Robot. This is the other way that Luis can say check effectively.
Yeah.
Eric might be able to buy himself a turn by chump blocking.
Oh, no, he's not even worried about chump blocking right now because he's got Jace, which will get Time Walk, and all of this is going to... I mean, he can play Young Pyromancer also if he wants to. Or he can play Delver, and he's got the Brainstorm and the Fetch land, so I would probably not play the Well, it looks like he put the Delver away. So he's going to have a lot of cards to dig through to find a solution to this Blightsteel. And if any one of them ends up being something like Dak Faden, which would be ideal, obviously, then the tides will have been turned.
All right, Young Pyro is down. Time Walk is being flashed back thanks to the flipped Jace. He's going to take his Time Walk turn
Yeah,
and see how far he can get.
he won't even have to chump block either, since the Jace can plus on the.
Oh, nice! Jace shrinks Blightsteel down to 9 power.
Yeah, he'll be a very healthy 9. And
Luis has the misstep to stop Brainstorm.
It's okay. I mean, Luis being hellbent, Eric is going to fire off the Flusterstorm with the quickness.
Right. So Eric is misstepping his own Brainstorm and then Flusterstorming his own Mental Misstep just because he wants all the 1/1 tokens he can get.
Yeah. And if it gets to the point where he plays enough spells, then the Blightsteel is actually just not going to be able to attack at all. Eric will just run his entire squad into the Blightsteel, saying, "You know what? I'm going to attack you with my Delver and all of these Pyromancer tokens, and you don't really care because I'm going to win next turn."
Jace to shrink Blightsteel, is that actually going to win Eric this game?
Potentially.
It's really close, right? So Eric attacks for 3 down to 11. Next turn, his attack is for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Next turn, his attack is for 10 right now. So he's 1 damage short. What did he put back with the Brainstorm? I don't even remember.
Well, yeah, it was, he had I believe he had I don't recall if he used a fetch land. I remember there was fetch land, Delver, Young
Pyromancer. I count Eric as 1 damage short. Is that right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's
got 10 damage. So if he has something like Lightning Bolt,
right,
then it's pretty good.
The Time Walk has been exiled.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably you just take 9 here. I don't think he can possibly survive 2 attacks, right? That's 18 poison. No, yeah, he's already taken the 9. There was a Young Pyro, yeah. That was the other thing off the Brainstorm. God, Eric is 1 short.
Yeah, so now what you're going to see now is, let's see, Eric needs to go through and do some calculations and
it doesn't work.
How much damage he can absorb.
He can't. He's got 8 toughness, and there's a 9 power poison creature. I think he's just dead.
No, what he's going to do is he's got to get he's going to play that Pyromancer and then try and chain cantrips so it can just generate a lot of elemental tokens and then attack. Because what he's going to do is going to Jace is going to flashback.
Jace to flashback a cantrip.
Yeah.
Jace to flashback a Brainstorm. Needs a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
Oh, but Luis has Force of Will.
Yeah. The 1 mana Force of Will. Or the 1 land Force of Will, rather. But Eric still gets those 3 tokens, but he can't really attack at all. Let's see.
Well, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. He is up to 11 toughness now, so technically he can survive a turn. It's just not... I don't know how he wins from there.
Yeah, he's got a healthy amount of defenses to block against that Blightsteel, but the following turns...
well, he needs all of them because he used Chase to flashback a cantrip. He's got 11 toughness, which is what he needs.
Yeah.
Everybody blocks.
He's going to be in a sickening position.
Crazy. Yeah, Eric knows there's nothing he can draw next turn. In fact, he knows what the card is because it was from a Brainstorm, so... Crazy game. Luis Scott Vargas is now 1 game away from a date with you in the finals.
Yeah. Well, he should get in this and enjoy this mirror for as long as possible because I can guarantee you he'll be playing many more spells in this game than he will against me.
He's not going to get to have this much fun next week? That's what you're saying?
No, I'm not giving anything away. I'm just saying that there may be Bush's Workshop involved.
Tough but fair. These have been some fun matches.
Oh yeah, I mean, blue deck against blue deck is generally pretty sweet. Although one match had Storm and one match had Turbo Tez, which is a little bit more linear than a lot of the other blue decks.
Yeah, this is
All
the
right.
Turbo Test deck, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The Volcast. So this hand from Luis is pretty bad. Unfortunately, he's on the draw, and this hand is smashing. Probably keep it though, just because top and 2 Moxes, and one of them being blue is pretty awesome. Eric having Ancient Grudge is going to be a bit of a kick, and I mean, you're not supposed to kick a man when he's down, and that's what that Ancient Grudge is going to be. Just
Down. Isn't he up 2-1 and up a game?
he mulled this game, and when your entire mana base is artifact mana, staring down an Ancient Grudge is not exactly where you want to be.
Fair.
I'm just saying.
That really is smelt in Luis's hand, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's good because it gets flashbacked by Jace Vryn's Prodigy, as opposed to something like Ingetjur, which gets around Thorn of Amethyst but does not get flashbacked by Jace. So there's a Dak Faden adding to the nice little slew of anti. I'm going to let you play Magic cards as opposed to anything else. And so what's going to happen is, unfortunately, Ifro does not have a shuffle effect, so he's just going to put a spell back, probably Ancient Grudge, or whichever card he wants. He's going to put Dig Through Time. I would probably put let's see. So Delbrid's going to reveal Dig Through Time. Yeah, flips, and that's going to be a pretty good clock. Doesn't want Luis to know about the Dak Faden for good reasons, obviously. And then I suspect that Ancient Grudge is going to target the Sapphire. So this is going to really constrain Luis's mana, and it'll be pretty difficult for him to cast spells as a result. So hopefully, from Eric's perspective, the insectile aberration is going to fly over and crush Luis. Get some revenge for all the flies that have been smashed before him.
There's the Dak Faden. You just steal the jet here? Yeah, you just steal the jet.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you can't really steal Sensei's Divining Top unless you have a mental misstep.
Oh no! I mean, you can plus. You can start essentially. He's got a Dig Through Time in his hand. You can set up Delve. But I like stealing.
You should just plus on your next turn, because you can, if you can plus and minus in any order, you'd rather just deny Luis the mana immediately. Whereas getting extra cards into your graveyard doesn't really do anything for you immediately. And this draw continues to sort of be pretty lackluster for Luis, and he's got a Mox Opal that he can't cast, or that he can't really tap for mana, an uncastable Darksteel Colossus, or Blightsteel Colossus, pardon me.
You could have cast it last game.
Yeah. And a Smash that he can use to destroy his own Mox that was stolen by Dak Faden. Oh, so we've got some action now. What's going to be? Ancestral Recall. Not bad.
Wow, runs into Flusterstorm.
Oh, yeah. Flusterstorm into, well, he can go really greedy and dig for a Pyroblast, but...
Ooh, yeah, no, yeah, you can wait for Dig Through Time, and Luis has seen enough. He knows that Dak Faden's running away with this game. Delver's going to kill him in 4 turns. He's got actual nothing going on, so on to game 3.
Yeah. You can have Luis on the play, and hopefully with a better hand from his point of view. I'm sure Eric thinks that your hand was probably fine. You should try and keep something like that again. But yeah, when you're on a mold 6, it's a little bit more difficult. You can't be as picky. And you can see Eric sideboarding in some different stuff. Looks like he kept out the Jace, and which I don't know. We'll see.
All right, Luis does get to be on the play here in Game 3. He's got a pretty solid hand.
Yeah, Luis's hand looks great.
No black mana, but the Ancestral and the top are both in action.
Oh yeah, and even though he doesn't have any black mana, he's gonna be able to.
Wow, this top is bait.
He
uses the top to bait a misstep to try to clear a path for Ancestral, which is a great play. Only Eric's got a second misstep for the Ancestral.
Yeah.
Oh, and Luis is responding, hoping he can draw into a misstep to defend his Divining Top, but yeah, second misstep's a complete blowout there.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of tough. Eric has a Strip Mine also, which he can use once he sees Luis's hand.
Does he use it? It's another, I guess, yeah, he does use it. It's the only blue source.
I would not strip. I would just play Delver and then strip, so you can establish a clock. Luis has no spells in his hand that he can cast, so you're at not too much of a risk by tapping out to play the Delver this turn compared to just playing a strip mine.
It's a good point. Man, Eric just dismantled Luis's great opener. Oh, and Luis drew Tinker off the top. It's kind of the best thing he could draw there, but I mean, Eric has it covered with Force of Will.
Yeah, it was a good spell. Luis would have rather have drawn something that makes it so that he doesn't have to trade 2 for 2.
Yeah.
But loading up his graveyard so that he can play Treasure Cruise is a thing. But
flips.
Yeah.
Eric is going to cast the Ponder rather than keep it as a blue card for Force of Will. That makes sense. He's very likely to find a blue card anyway. Plus, Strip Mine on the only blue source has to be his follow-up.
Strip Mine will be pretty good, especially because if Luis draws a fetch land, then he can cast Treasure Cruise immediately. Right. Or he can play Demonic Tutor. And cutting off the option for... Well, actually, it doesn't really matter since the Seed of the Sinai ends up being a +1 card, so it doesn't really stop Treasure Cruise at all.
Black Lotus sack for blue and Cruise, or sack for black and DT?
I would at this point you just have to cast Cruise. The problem though is if your deck is like pretty Yogg-Will based, like I suspect it is here, then getting rid of potentially your Lotus and Tinker kind of sucks. And is generally not where you want to be, but at this point you really need to just spike, and so leading off the Cruise is going to be the better of the two. You don't know what you want to DT for at the moment, and so you just want to hope to get a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Luis does delve everything away and leave 2 blue floating to cast spells after the Cruise, but Eric's last 2 cards, blue card and Force of Will. How's that Mindbreak Trap off the top?
Yeah.
All right, it's Delver versus top decking. That's now the race. He did finally run Eric out of stuff, but Eric still had that Delver.
Luis does not have very many turns to draw into something. He does have a mana, so...
he had mana, then Ancient Grudge showed up. You just blow up a Soul Ring here, right?
Oh yeah, this is not remotely close. You can make a case for holding Ancient Grudge to destroy a Time Vault, but Eric knows what Luis has as one of his cards, so it's not really that too much of a risk.
Eric gushes into still nothing, but Delver seems like it may get it done. Oh yeah, he floated green, so he can actually destroy the last of Luis's permanents.
Yeah, and that Pyromancer makes it so that...
Yeah, he's dead next turn.
Yeah.
Of course we're going to match 3. Of course. I mean, match 5. Of course that was Eric winning. Tying up the overall series at 2 games apiece. Of course we're going to match number 5.
It's almost as if this were orchestrated.
I mean, it's just these guys are evenly matched. I mean, you've got 2 Hall of Fame level Magic players, both of whom play a lot of Vintage. So we're seeing great Magic, and we're seeing an evenly matched battle. If you look at these guys historically through Vintage Super League, I think it's 8-8 now, lifetime. They've split 4 regular season matches. They've split a previous pair of semifinals. They've basically played in the semis of every full round robin season we've had. And now here they've split these 4 as well. So it was, crazy, evenly matched. All right, we got 1 game left. We'll take a super quick break. We will be right back momentarily with the decider.
That we shall.
With Puka Trade, the world is your trade binder.
Wow!
Start trading today at pukatrade.com.
Eric Froelich and Luis Scott Vargas are about to play 1 match to finish up their 5-match semifinal battle. These guys have played 4 times in the regular season of Vintage Super League. I mean, season 4, most of our seasons are round robin. They've split those 2 too. They played in the semifinals of season 1, which Luis won, though he did lose the final to Steve Menendian. They played in the semifinals of season 2, which Eric won, and then won the finals. Those playoff matches, and there was a tiebreaker match in there too, they split those 3-3. So 5-match wins to 5-match wins coming into tonight. Now we're up to 7-match wins for Luis, 7-match wins for Eric. Something's got to give. One of them is going to be ahead by a very crucial match, and one of them is going to get to go to the finals for a second time.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic match, this one that's coming up. 2 titans of the game just played a lot against each other. And
Well said.
at this point, they've managed to split it. So it'll be interesting to see which way it breaks.
Now, last match, we saw Luis choose to play his Turbo Tez deck, you've been calling it. Vaultcast is what we've got on the overlay.
Yeah.
Eric chose to go with Delver. Now, Eric is going to be on, Luis now gets to be on the play, which is different from the last time around. What do you think that changes the decks that either of these guys is going to bring for match 5?
I don't think it changes much for Luis. I think I'll either be on Vaultcast or on Remora Mentor.
Okay. What about Eric's side? Does he that Delver deck is 0-2. I don't know that he wants to run Delver back. I like Eric's Storm deck the most, especially he's so good with the Storm deck. I think back to the first match they played where he just dismantled a handful of hate from Luis. Well,
Yeah,
time to find out. 1 match for a spot in the finals. Let's get down to it. Here we are. It's Pyro Gush against Storm. Eric did go back to the Storm deck that he used to hang that first W on the board. Luis has got a whole bunch of broken blue cards.
Yeah, this is a pretty strong hand from Luis's side because he's on the play, so he's got turn 1 Young Pyromancer into double Preordain, which is going to be pretty great. And he also has mental misstep to defend against Eric's first turn duress if he chooses to go that route. Facing down such an early Pyromancer means that he might, well, I mean, if he didn't have the probe, then he might lead with Ancestral, but since he has the probe, he's going to lose the probe and then probably have to just go with duress just so he can clear the way. But Luis is putting him on a fairly quick clock.
Oh, he found a Force of Will.
Yeah, it's going to make it even more difficult. So I think Eric is going to have a bit of a tough time trying to win this game.
A bit.
A moderate amount, some would say.
Oh, there's the defense grid. That's actually a pretty good draw for Eric.
Yeah, the defense grid is going to be pretty good. The problem is that Eric's going to have to take 9 damage in the process.
Right. Yeah, his hand is set up for turn 2 defense grid, turn 3 try to go off and win the game. But so often with the Storm deck, you're leveraging Necropotence or Yawgmoth's Bargain to draw a bunch of cards and fuel a Storm kill. He's not going to have that much life to work with.
No, this time he's going to go. It's going to be more of a Yawgmoth's Will win.
Yeah, presumably. I mean, he's also kind of all in on that one Ancestral Recall. So he takes a look at Luis's hand. He sees what's over there. Now he's going to duress. If the coast was clear, he probably would have Ancestraled there. The coast is definitely not clear, however.
Yeah. At the very minimum, he's going to have to take away the mental misstep and the Force of Will.
Yeah, I would guess that Luis is going to use the misstep on the duress.
Oh, yeah. Probably. He doesn't have another one.
Yeah.
So it looks like Luis is disconnected and he'll be back very shortly. Either that or he just rage quit and yeah, off to do something else. I suspect that is not the case though, and
how dare you crack a fetch land?
Yeah. The weather in that would be a
little
weird. I think the most challenging decision for Ifra this turn is which of his 3 duresses to use. It looks like he went with the right one.
Luis does misstep the duress. Finds a ruby.
Yeah, not really the draw that he was looking for.
Oh, he's going to gush. It's a little risky. No blue card for Force of Will now.
That's fine.
Is it? No land drop either. Oh, he found Cabal Therapy. What does he name? Defense Grid, right? Isn't that like the right blind name here?
No, Defense Grid really isn't going to be doing very much.
I guess with no blue card for his Force of Will, also Defense Grid isn't even good against him. So he blind names Dark Ritual, which is a swing and a miss.
Yeah, so he's going to name Ancestral here, and then that's really going to put Eric in a tough spot.
Right, he does get to flashback Cabal Therapy. So the blind name was a swing and a miss, but you don't miss when you flash it back. Down goes Ancestral Recall. Eric is now sitting on 2 duresses and a defense grid against, what is that, 7 power we're up to?
Yeah, so Eric's going to need to draw. I would say that Eric's turn needs to start with Ancestral Recall into the perfects, but Ancestral is already gone, so it's going to be the next best thing. It's going to be like Time Twister into perfects. And
Dark Petition, not good enough. So Eric only got 3 turns. Luis had him at 4 as Eric untapped for turn number 4 and didn't draw anything. Luis got Vargas once again a game away from a date with you in the final match. I like this Pyrogush deck. I didn't get a good look at it last time, but it's Cabal Therapy, Young Pyromancer is such good synergy. Like he's calling it Pyrogush, but it's very close to the. I guess we called it Grixis Pyromancer when I won season 3 with a somewhat similar build. Just glancing at it, I guess I didn't have quite as much broken stuff. I didn't have the green for the fast bond. which gives
Yeah, when
him
you're playing
some,
against a bunch of blue decks, then
right,
Cabal
right.
Therapy ends up being pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, Cabal Therapy, Young Pyro is such synergy.
Yeah.
Good times. It's particularly good against Storm, I would think. I feel like Luis has been on the. Has he been on the right side of both match 4 and match 5?
Let's see. Match 4 was
Matchup
the
wise, I mean,
Delver and
versus the Vaultcast, this Turbo Tesserator deck. I mean, I think I like Luis's side of that matchup. I think didn't work. Obviously, Eric did in fact win match 4.
yeah.
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I'm not
Eric
sure any of
has
these.
a lot of. He ended up having, well, at least in the game, how it played out, access to multiple artifact destruction spells versus Luis's artifact-based deck, which seems like it's kind of favorable as far as positioning goes. So I'm not really sure exactly how beneficial it would have been to play that deck versus something else.
Fair. It doesn't feel like any of these matchups are blowouts.
Well, speaking of blowouts, Null Rod is pretty good. So we'll see.
No Rod on the draw with no acceleration though.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. It really depends on. I mean, you have Null Rod and Demonic Tutor and Misstep. So it's basically just like Misstep,
Oh,
Null Rod.
It's a keeper. I think you keep that.
Yeah, I would
Gonna
not
play. Eric plays turn 1 Duress or turn 1 Defense Grid.
turn one defense grid. You don't. You want to protect uh, your your duresses from
Missteps.
missteps.
By that, and that is what Eric does. Luis draws a
Then you
Force of Will right on time. I mean,
Right.
not at all on time. Preordain, cross your fingers. Time walk. Yeah, now Eric just. Luis is hoping he doesn't die this turn.
Yeah. So Luis is going to see. Well, Eric's going to see the Luis's hand, which has some stuff in it, and given that Eric just drew an illness in the ranks, I suspect that he's going to be taking either Null Rod or a Demonic Tutor.
Yeah, those are the choices, I think.
Yeah.
I think it. I mean, No Rod. Wow, he has a chain that he can set up a turn where he bounces Null Rod. But man, Null Rod's so good against him.
Yeah, I think Demonic Tutor is going to be hitting the bin here. Just because this Eric has enough spells to really take care of the Null Rod, especially with the defense grid out, as opposed to if Luis can go Null Rod into, or Time Walk into Null Rod into like DT plus Arcane Labs, something like that.
Yep.
That would be a pretty nice sequence.
Eric agreed with you. He did take the Demonic Tutor away. Luis is going to effectively just cycle Time Walk. I mean, it's an Explore here. He gets a land drop and a card out of it.
Yeah, plus it's blue, so it's better than Explore.
Sure. When you cast it, it's an Explore in that scenario. Luis could hold up Force of Will with 3 mana to pay for Defense Grid, but he is going to slam that Null Rod instead.
Yeah, Null
Makes
Rod's
sense.
just too good.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, Eric has to deal with it. Like, maybe he can deal with it on the spot, but not necessarily.
So I think we're going to be playing Draw Go for a little bit, and Luis is going to be able to develop his mana base so that he can actually cast this Force of Will. I said that, and then immediately
Second Defense Grid.
Yeah. So this grid is going to widen the web, the protection that Eric has against Luis's permission spells, and so it's going to make it so that this Null Rod isn't going to do. Oh, that's blurring.
Hello. Arcane Laboratory.
Yeah.
Look at that card.
Doesn't-
All of its white bordered glory.
Yeah.
Jeez, that Chain of Vapor is just totally overloaded now. Eric needs to. He can't win while Arcane Laboratory is in play, and it's really, 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 really hard to win with Null Rod in play. So Eric has to hope to draw into a second chain at this point.
Yep. Eric's going to need to draw a Chain of Vapor or Tolarian Academy.
Oh, but how about that Yawgmoth's Will card? Is that a good card?
With Arcane Lab, it's great.
Wait,
Almost
did he
as great
really
as
just? He just cast Yawgmoth's Will with Arcane Laboratory in play.
you
That
have to send a message sometimes. All right.
Luis literally forgot about his Arcane Lab. That's what just happened, or he's sending it? Is
No,
he act?
I would not say that. I would say
You
that
think
he
he
knew
sent a
about it.
message?
Yes, a message was sent. Whether or not it was the message that he intended,
he tricked me for about
entirely
four
different.
seconds. There were 4 seconds there where I was like, "Wow, the value of Yawgmoth's Will." Oh, wait,
Well, it was value
not
for
used to
something.
trick Magic Online into letting him cast Yawgmoth's Will cards, though. Hilarious.
Yeah, these gushes are still good. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Eric just drew this time twister, which is kind of cute. The interesting thing with that and Arcane Lab is, well, assuming you have enough mana to play both Chain and Time Twisters, he can chain the lab and then play Time Twister, although that will let Eric also copy the chain to bounce a defense grid, which will let him play Force of Will with the 3 level. So it's actually a pretty tricky board that they're on right now.
Yeah, I forgot about the fact that Luis can just send back the chains on those defense grids. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's one little thing that you have to remember, that your defense grids are not safe.
It's a great point. And you see Luis with 3 mana untapped. He's thinking that far
Conveniently.
ahead. Like Luis is
Well,
absolutely prepared for Chain of Vapor. He knows that's Eric's out. And he's just thinking, okay, fine. You chain my Arcane Lab. I'll send it back on a defense grid. Now I've got Force of Will up. It's really smart, actually.
yep.
I mean, it's
Now,
not
yeah,
Logboss Will while my Arcane Lab's in play smart, but it's pretty smart.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's convenient.
Dak is just letting Luis sculpt his hand, too.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good, and let him draw into more and more permission spells. The problem is that he's not really getting anywhere too effectively, and might actually want to just start stealing artifacts just in case Eric draws at the Learning Academy.
Sure.
Something to consider, because he can't tinker, that sort of thing.
I mean, if he's got Pyroblast in his deck, then the ultimate could become relevant. Start stealing things that way. Steal his lands.
Yeah, that is a thing.
Luis has a lot of hilarious but powerful options, is I think what we're saying. And he's up a game. It's 2 matches apiece. If Luis wins this game, he goes through to the finals. Eric has finished in the top 3 all 4 seasons of Vintage Super League, but he may have to settle for a 3rd place finish here.
It's a tough spot for him right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Luis has to think exactly how he's going to lose this game, and other than Chain of Vapor and some sort of shenanigans with, like, I don't know if Eric has a, yeah, it's basically just Chain of Vapor.
Mm-hmm.
And or a sequence of more defense grids and like duresses to strip these Force of Wills away. I suspect that Eric is not going to be able to win this game very easily, because Luis is just continuing to draw more spells.
Force of Will, blue card. Force of Will, blue card. Cabal Therapy, Ancestral Recall. That's where Luis is at. I don't think he has very many victory conditions left in his deck at this point, because the Arcane Lab and the Null Rod are so close to victory conditions all by themselves. Eventually he'll find a creature.
Yeah.
Or a creature? If this is a Gush fast spawn deck, though, that's usually a Storm kill.
Yeah, I thought we saw an end.
Oh, he's got Young Pyros. Yeah, this is Young Pyro deck.
Yeah. That Notion Thief is going to start pecking away and should be pretty good.
It's nice of him to give Luis something to do on Eric's turn as his 1 spell. Can he Notion Thief and pay for both defense grids yet? He's pretty close. Not quite.
Not quite. At this Notion Thief costs a lot of mana, so if he wants to play it, then he's not going to be able to defend very effectively. He's basically
Well, it's
gonna be
Arcane Lab too, right? You can't defend anything with Arcane Lab in play.
yeah.
It's a lot of cards in Luis's graveyard. He's down to 20 cards in his library.
Yeah. It is a concern.
Now, if he gets a second Arcane Lab into play, how does Eric ever chain them both? I guess he has to chain one on Luis's turn, untap, chain one on his own turn. But chaining on Luis's turn with 2 defense grids in play is all but impossible.
Yeah, it's going to be somewhat difficult. Eric would need to draw Tolarian Academy, have Luis play a spell so that Eric could chain an Arcane Lab without worry of repercussion.
This is kind of
And then
funny. This
use
dig
a
through
threat.
time. Sorry, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana and Delvate cards. We got there. Eric's end step. Time to cast Dig Through Time through 2 defense grids.
Yeah, that Ancient Grudge is going to be pretty good for Luis. It'll let him start playing spells on more spells or cheaper spells
Yep.
on his turn. He'll be able to play that Notion Thief. So Ancient Grudge is effectively Black Lotus here.
Funny.
It's actually like Misha's Workshop.
Yeah, I was going to say, it taps for 3 every turn. I know a
Yeah.
card that does that. There aren't any of those tonight. I was told there would be no lands that tap for 3. Time for the second Arcane Lab. Is Luis capable of siding out every creature from his deck, just assuming that Eric will concede at some point?
The problem with that is that Eric would still have Necropotence in his deck. And barring some sort of shenanigans where Dak Faden forces Eric to draw all of the cards.
Oh, yeah, sure. Deck him with Dak Faden. There you go.
Yeah. He wouldn't have to worry about getting decked. But as you can see here, post board Dak Faden's still in, so it's not really going to be realistic for this last game if Eric ends up winning this one.
So Luis is up. Well, I guess I can't just look at libraries. Luis is at 15 cards in his library. Eric's at 35. Eric's just been natural drawing off the top, 1 card per turn, hoping to find multiple copies of Chain of Vapor. Luis, on the other hand, has just about everything.
Yeah. Turns out when you're filtering with Dak Faden, your hands ends up being pretty good.
A spell.
I suspect this is Tolarian Academy.
Not the second chain.
Nope, I suspect it's Tolarian Academy. We will see.
Sure. The main phase Vampiric Tutor that Defense Grid forces him to do, though, is not exactly friends with Dak. Like, no, that still works. Never mind.
True Yawgmoth's Will and Mana Vaults. Ooh, nice spy. It's Tolarian Academy, which, after getting Ancient Grudged into the Stone Age, facing down a Doc Faden's going to be tough to really capitalize on for multiple turns.
Chain of Vapor was Luis's name with that Cabal therapy.
Yeah.
Down goes Chain of Vapor. Now Eric has his Academy, but he's that much farther away from dealing with those 2 copies of Arcane Laboratory.
Yeah. He can start by playing a Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Sure. Luis can force a will and pay 6, though, right? I mean, presumably Luis will choose for his one spell this turn to be a 6-mana Forcible. Oh, or he can't quite Notion Thief, can he? Oh, there's only one defense grid. He can Notion Thief. He responds to Yawgmoth's Bargain with a Notion Thief. Would you like to pay life so that I can draw cards, Eric Froelich? Oh, are you skipping your draw step for the rest of time, Eric Froelich? Yes. Luis Scott Vargas is your champion. Notion Thief, as a response to Yawgmoth's Bargain, prompts the concession. 3 matches to 2. LSV plays on.
Yeah, that was exciting. Turns out Arcane Lab is a great sideboard card.
Yeah, turns out Arcane Laboratory. He won 2 matches on the back of Arcane Laboratory. Or no, Eric beat it the first time, right? The first time we saw that Arcane Lab come down, Eric actually managed to beat it. But there you see the bracket. Luis Scott Vargas took out Rich Shea last week. He takes down Eric Froelich this week. You going to stop him next week?
Don't know. We'll see. I've managed to do pretty well so far. And I can only hope that my luck holds up, considering how I've been playing.
Luis has made the playoffs in all 3 full round robin seasons. He's made the finals now twice. We'll find out if next week if he will finally win a Vintage Super League title. And there's a set of Vintage Masters on the line for whoever happens to win that. Foil set of Vintage Masters, in fact. The second place has to settle for just the Foil Lotus. Really, though, it's the pride.
It would be generous if Luis let me win because I don't have a foil set of Vintage Masters yet, and Luis already has one, and he can only use one.
It's true. So, it's true. You can only effectively use one.
Yeah.
But you get foil copies of the Force of Will and the dual lands. Those come in handy. That said, really, I think what they're playing for is every time I do the lifetime standings, there's that, how many times have you won column. I think that's what Luis actually has his eyes on. Man, that was a fun match. A lot of interesting decisions there.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Oh my God, they just pointed out in the chat that Eric could almost deck Luis by drawing cards with Yawgmoth's Bargain. Because Notion Thief is not optional, right? You have to draw them.
Something like that. I don't think I've actually played Notion Thief ever.
I don't think Notion Thief is optional. I think that Eric was 1 life short of decking Luis.
That's insane.
And Eric says yes. He knew. He knew, but 1 life not good enough. So Luis through the finals. All right. Well, David Ochoa, good luck next week in the finals. It will be you against Luis Scott Vargas. Hope you guys have enjoyed us. Got to watch 2 true titans of the game, Hall of Famers who also play a lot of Vintage, think a lot about Vintage Super League, battling, evenly matched, gentleman's agreement for no workshop decks. Got to see a lot of sort of tricky interactive decks square off against each other, but Luis came out on top, 3 matches to 2. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys will tune in next week. Same time, same place. We'll see you then.